Hello and welcome to the CRO podcast with your hosts, myself and Will. Today we're going to be diving into part 3 of our series on how to improve lead quality, lead generation. So just a little recap of last time, we went through the 3 major approaches. So we have the marketing driven, form driven and process driven. And also really sort of to talk on that or to tack on, off the back of that, really being cautious about taking a hammer to marketing driven, just to make sure that you're not breaking something that's working and dismantling that, because then you'll have nothing working. So just really being cautious about that. Then we also had the lead gen triangle. So we have volume, cost, and quality. Now you can only have 2. So you definitely need to be choosing wisely and to be very sensible about what is going to be most important to you and what's going to help with longevity. Then we had, of course, the importance of dynamic content. We will also be touching on this again today, but it is just so, so important to have dynamic content there because it is so effective, really. Then we had the meta-specific tactics. We had the pre-qualification via ads. So your creative is basically your qualifier as well, and just letting meta do its thing because it definitely does it better than you do. And then we also have the lookalike audience as well, just making sure that we're utilizing that as a potential option. And then finally, the importance of the channel mix, just basically using, multiple channels. It's much, much easier. So definitely worth doing. And if you missed out on that, then check out our last episode. And yeah, what's happening this week? So this week, we're diving into the form. So we've started with the top funnel with the marketing. Now we're moving a little bit deeper into the form. And we're going to be looking at sort of the concept of quality margin trading, having sort of specific friction or adding in friction. We're going to look at educational content and case studies. We're going to, again, look at the hammers, like having that core consent, those sorts of things. Localized forms and dynamic content, as I already said, that's something we will be talking about. Super, super paramount. We're going to talk about filter questions, opportunity size questions, lead scoring and enrichment. Goodness gracious, this list is long. We will have to be very specific in what we say. And then we also have the thank you page, again, trust and reassurance. And then we'll move on to SMS, email, and sort of AI, also driven post-lead qualification. And then, of course, we have our show and tell. So I think without further ado, let's dive into it and get started.
Yeah, let's do it. Is a bit of a laundry list this week, isn't it? We got a lot to cover. Well, I think this is why we wanted to do a proper series on this, because there's so many different elements to lead quality. We won't dive too deep into each one of these, but hopefully it just gives you ideas of like these are the levers so you can start pulling. But yeah, starting at the top, concept of margin, quality margin trading. It's really straightforward, but if you have cheap leads, you can transform them. So, this is what we're doing here. We're in the transformation part of the lead process. You can transform them into more expensive leads, but higher quality. So again, this isn't changing the marketing inputs, let marketing do it, treat them separately. So we're really thinking about that transformation process. And yeah, this is just referred to as quality margin trading. It all links to that kind of core KPI, which is cost per opportunity. So if you trade effectively, your cost per opportunity goes down. So like if something's cheaper per appointment booked, then that is a beneficial transformation. And so when you're doing this kind of trading, you are adding strategic points of friction or other potential things that may harm conversion rate in order to hopefully overall see an improvement in your cost per opportunity. So you're going to add the friction, that's going to decrease your CVR. It's also hopefully going to improve your overall lead quality more than the CVR drop. And so your overall cost per opportunity is going to decline. Obviously, there are cases where, your cost per opportunity is also really low, but, it's just like, the sales resource there are cases where you can just improve your lead quality at the expense of CVR and be more, it doesn't have to go down, but generally speaking, that's what you're aiming for. Minimize your cost per opportunity. And that's really what we're doing here, because that's what most businesses back into. At the end of the day, we just want to get appointments for 100 quid or lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the ideal world.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Let's get that lower. How low can you go?
Yeah, very much. When you're defining this with your client, like within the world of lead gen, you're defining like this is your cost per lead. You agree that with the client, and then you usually have your, your target of opportunity, and so it's just backing into this combined metric of cost per opportunity. Cost per opportunity. Obviously, if leads are really expensive, then your cost per opportunity increases.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most common and simple, and like this happens on nearly every landing page that you see. It's much less of a thing in lead gen, and for good reason, but educational content and case studies. So this is used incredibly widely, not just in lead gen, but like just in marketing. The core concept here is if you educate your user more effectively, they are more likely to be a qualified lead. And so, qualify themselves, like will they engage or not, because now they know a little bit more, this is for them. And B, will hopefully be more likely to complete the sales funnel, because at this point you've educated them about like why this is so good.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, like very, very similar to this concept, basically this idea of adding stuff to your landing page to make leads better is
more
case
is
studies. So
more.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And adding these like case studies, which can be like, this is what we did for them. Ergo, we can help you. You should do this. This is good. So yeah, first off, and the reason why we put them into this like transformation part is, yeah, they very often they do have a negative impact on your conversion rate. Nearly always, you add educational content and basically stuff for people to read and engage with. Your CVR will nearly always decline. The optimal user journey for maximum CVR is you go to the page, they're like, okay, yes, no, like they're immediately gauging that Q1 with that first question. So yeah, adding educational content and case studies definitely, can, well, it definitely decreases CVR. It can improve conversion rate, often less effectively. It's got to be done well. It's got to be kept brief. Really long stuff often doesn't work because people get lost in it, or it restarts their like finding journey. So it can actually be a real drag on conversion rate. And it is often helpful, but it's usually a negative lead quality trading situation. It's worth doing and having some level, particularly for brands. Brands, they use it a lot more. But for lead gen, when they should already know, it's a known product category like solar panels. Like if someone is getting a quote for solar panels, they probably don't need educational content
fly
about
over that. Yeah, like if they're doing anything, it's going to be really, really brief, and they don't want to get into the weeds of it, I think. I mean, for SaaS, for example, I mean, that's B2B, again, something sort of different, or very different to that. But, we would often do for every vertical, you would want to have a couple of different, bits and pieces of like case studies, educational content, just to kind of like show that and sort of have that business use case sort of there, to really sort of drive that home. But yeah, I mean, if you're going for a solar panel, I mean, how much education do you need?
Well, this is something that I've seen like as an interesting halfway house, particularly in the B2B lead gen, is you get a buyer's guide, like complete the thing, get a quote and a buyer's guide. So you get the educational content as part of the value being offered. And that can work well. And I have seen case studies work well for B2B again, and for some B2C lead gen. But they're often like, the way it usually works for these ones is they're driven to an interstitial page, like they're removed from your core form, because blending the two is kind of suboptimal. So generally, having them on a separate page and from that advertorial going to the form, that often does work better. But if you're just doing more generic lead gen, not for like classic lead gen that we're talking about with the form and a funnel, it's a really core and important part of it. And particularly like case studies are worth the time to put into, like a really good case study that really visualizes this and like makes value tangible, that can improve conversion rate and improve your lead quality. So it can be actually a really good win. So I actually
metrics going to be good for that one.
I do recommend case studies where possible. I mean, for B2C, it's like kind of more testimonial side, but you can take a testimonial, make it a case study by like adding images, like before and after, happy faces, like then it's a thing. And then people are like, oh, wow,
I mean, if you see this one in weight loss quite a lot, to be fair, like any of those kind of weight loss or those like
before and after.
Whatever pills that people take, like supplements, you know what I mean? Like there's always, like generally always, and you'll especially have that on the interstitial pages, are these before and after images with like, how much weight they've lost and everything like that. That it is really effective, I think. Because it also just has that kind of, if you're looking at a weight loss pill and you see that, you're like, I want that. It really makes that tangible. 100%.
Absolutely. I've seen them work really well for dental, well, for like Invisalign and things like this as well.
Oh
like,
yeah,
bad teeth, great
want
teeth.
That.
Teeth white. I know. So it's definitely.
Every time I look at it, yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
If talking about solar or hearing aids, when like solar again, it can do great. You can have a great case study of like bills before, bills after, and they actually usually kind of what's it called? They often turn into like a calculator. We're like, calculate your savings. So again, it's a very, they make
it's a very quick story to tell, though. That 100%. Like a case study on that is a very quick story to tell. There's really hardly even a beginning, middle, and end. There's a before and after. Again, it's just a before and after, I suppose, isn't it?
The middle hearing aids is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, hearing aids.
Hearing aids. It's like, oh
like
no,
more
sad.
difficult.
I can hear.
Yeah, I'm hearing right now. Like I can hear really well. Yeah, that'd be interesting to have like one of those. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. I don't want to digress too much because brevity. But yeah, no, 100%. I think it's case study everywhere you can have it. Like anything that's going to really just, show that value, make that value tangible, and also have it anchored in real life instead of just sort of fake things. It's going to work. Well, should help.
Yeah. The final kind of form of all this educational content and case study. So again, like the thing you want to avoid is like really long form copy. It often it's a negative trading. But another way of like kind of formalizing this, FAQs. You can have those absolutely on a landing page and just answer the quick questions that people. So again, you're distilling the content down. It's hidden as well, so they have to engage to. They're not immediately driven, not like going down and just reading this massive article. Instead, you've just distilled it down. So those kinds of things work well. So like case studies, FAQs, places where you're like you're conveying this information as quickly and as clearly and as tangibly as possible.
Yeah.
These are good ways.
Because this information is not for everyone. This information is for people that are not convinced right at the first bit. If they're scrolling and they're engaging, then that's where you need to bring up the big guns and you need to have that sort of, next phase of information. So that's why we want to keep it quick. We want to keep it easy, but we also don't want to have it all over everywhere. So you have to first wade through that to get to the CTA, to get to actually, doing things. Ideally, you'll have people that go straight in. And then, if I am sort of like umming and ahhing, there's going to be enough there to convince me then to actually take that next step.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's on the more content-y side. There is also, something said to be here regarding the imagery used. We will maybe on the final section, we'll talk about maybe a little bit on hero images and some pitfalls there. And a big shout out to our network who sent in possibly the best hero image I've ever seen.
Fantastic, honestly.
But again, images can make a difference, but generally we won't go into those massively. But again, good imagery can help trade because again, you make it more tangible and hopefully openly, that feeds to that contact rate of people are more willing to pick up this phone. So we will again be talking about thank you pages in a bit, but other like quick things to talk about. The hammers. So we talked about these in the very first episode, but a quick reiteration. Cool consent questions. So you will be contacted by an expert. Do you want to continue? Yes, no. It is nearly always a positive trade, but it's quite a heavy-handed one. Then the next level up is mentioning on the landing page, like get a phone call from an expert. So you're telling them that they're going to get called. It's going to drop your conversion rate, but it will push up your CV,
people that are going to people that continue 100%. If you're saying, hey, I'm going to get a phone call and I'm going to continue doing this, then the commitment level there is really high.
A good quality lead.
100%. So if you really do need lead quality, this is something that you should definitely be thinking about. But just be prepared emotionally, spiritually for that drop in CVR, because it's gonna be big.
That side can be like a 50% drop. Whereas like having it later down after you've got people into the question, having that cool consent question, lower drop off because this one they put in
this is in for a penny, in for a pound. I've put in so many pennies, I may as well continue. So
and hopefully
that's sort of what helps doing that. It softens the blow a little bit, and again, the wording, how you're actually asking that question is so so important. I mean, you have to tone match everything. You have to sort of say it in a way that's not confrontational, that people don't feel scared about. Like, you just really need to be very, very careful. I would not suggest using AI. I don't think that AI has the emotional depth to really understand how language feels. Potentially, but I guess someone could prove me wrong if they want to show me a really nicely worded question from AI. I'd be interested to see that, to be fair. But really use, your fine Gefühl. What's that in English? Your like your empathy on that one.
Yeah, I think it can be helpful for ideate. I've definitely asked it to like, this is the kind of question I write. Can you give me some ideas? Then you can like refine it
100%.
down.
Yeah, I
Yeah, like,
definitely.
but
I think,
no,
yeah, get it.
it's not.
Any sort of suggestion, I'm so fully down with, because I always sometimes say, oh yeah, like I'll just ask AI, what does AI think, and then you read it, and generally it either sounds super AI, where you're just like, no one speaks like this, or it's just that little bit off that you just think it's a little bit too harsh. Like, I need to soften that a little bit, or I just need to make this more human, really. Um, you
Yeah.
know,
We will do a podcast more on like how to use AI and leverage it for
yeah.
form creation, and because I know lots of people are using it. We've had interest in my network as well who want to learn more about this, and we'll absolutely dive into that in a little bit for sure. Well, we'll talk about it a little bit a bit later, as well as in the final episode of this series. So don't forget the hammers. The hammers are important. They are emergency measures that you use. Using them long term isn't always wonderful. You can usually trade more effectively. But if you need immediate lead quality, use a hammer. You will see an improvement. But we'll see higher CVRs as well, higher cost per leads as well. So another big thing, we have also talked about it before, we will continue to talk about it many times, but dynamic content does matter. The main thing I'm going to push here is localizing your form. Don't use IP. The IP address is not your friend. It's not accurate enough, really. You don't want to be using IP in this case. You do need to have it linked with marketing, so it's a whole setup you need to set up and drive traffic from particular, yada yada. However, you like nearly always you'll see an improvement in lead quality if you're getting a solar panel quote in Leicester for homeowners in Leicester, for homeowners in Worcestershire, in homeowners in whatever the other like other
Chewton
counties will
Mendip.
be. Yeah,
That's the one.
love it. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Chewton.
So yeah, localizing really can help. It can also improve your CBRs as well. Like, generally speaking, it's a really good campaign type where it doesn't do loads of, we're talking about that, that lead quality triangle. It doesn't really get you the volume, but it gets you cost and it gets you lead quality.
Yeah.
So which is really nice, because then you can dilute that with, you can have some more expensive but good quality leads. And then like actually between the two, you kind of get reasonable cost and reasonable lead quality, and like really good lead quality. And then you blend it with like your volume play, where you're just getting loads of leads, and then altogether it comes to something reasonable. So it is an important arsenal that like a really important part of your bag of tricks that you should be looking and willing to pull. Localization, I will bang on about it a lot. Right. So they're in the form. So at this point, they've engaged with the first page. You may have changed it around a little bit to make a bit, to try to trade some of this fiction or this educational content or the cool consent or whatever. Let's talk about other things you can do in the form to start improving that lead quality. So number of questions is a thing. Generally speaking, 3 is optimal. More than 3 is lead friction, and it starts to like drop people off. You can ask questions such as like, are you winning? Basically suggesting the sales process. So it's kind of similar to the cool consent thing, where it's like, are you willing to come to a clinic to talk about your needs? Are you willing to, are you happy for a home visit? Are you, so you can start to do that. They will have drop off. Because nearly every question has drop off, and just the more you make someone whack for it, the more likely that their lead quality will improve. It can be quite hit and miss, but yeah, if you're kind of alluding to the sales process, which is going to be the main theme here, it can be really successful. So having things like essentially filter questions where you're trying to find the people that aren't a fit, that you can be like, right, the 20% of leads that answer yes to this question, we are going to bin. Or like, we're just not, we're not going to send them to our client, and we're going to do something, or we're going to send them to entirely another qualification journey. And the reason we see like 20%, because you can't be getting rid of like 50% of your leads. Like, that's just not that funnel is going to be way too expensive to run. But if you can just find like the bottom 10% of leads and do a bit of data analysis, be like, yep, these are empirically the worst leads. Brilliant.
Get them out of here.
Get rid of them. And now, your marketing's not changed, but suddenly your lead quality is substantially better. And for a very simple, particularly if you're,
I mean, any kind of criteria where it's just a straight up no, just filter them straight out of the funnel. Done, easy.
Yeah. So like in a lot of the cases where it's like they just can't work with them, like obviously, just don't send them.
Are you over 18?
Leads.
Yes, no. Done. Okay. Don't need you. That's
Do you need
Get
that
out.
Yeah.
Again, having these filter questions so incredibly important. I think what one needs to think about here is also just understanding what do I actually truly need to know at this stage of lead generation that I can put in there that's going to make sense for later down the line. Because I think when it comes to multi-step forms, I've definitely had clients who are so excited by the fact that they can kind of pre-qualify their leads and do all of that they just bang in every single sales question that they have, because obviously, like, wow, that's fantastic, we have everything done, like, oh, what a beautiful world that would be. Obviously far too expensive, you're getting hardly any people through, and it's honestly just a mess. Like, have those couple of filter questions that is going to be really sensible, have really boiled down kind of what you need and what actually is a filter for you. And I think that's really important.
So that's exactly it. It's a balance that you can add and your lead quality will improve, but it gets exponentially worse. Like the more, frankly, like the more you take the piss with someone who's just filling out a form online, like, this may not be the right time to ask about their budget. Honest, if you want a question,
don't be getting too personal. Come on.
Like, however, there is this concept of opportunity size questions. So like you need to know how valuable this lead is. What are the core drivers? So very, very often for B2B, it is number of employees in that company. Like the larger it is, the more it scales, because things sell with seats and things like this. And B2C, it can be like, it really depends on the
size of your bathroom. If you're doing sort of one of those the bath things that people always tend to do. What's the size of your bathroom?
Bathroom modeling and and you can ask, like, you are often tempted to ask for budget. People don't really know. It's not a great, in my experience, lots of people think this question will work well. They test it and it's not particularly accurate. It is a really high drop-off. It's quite high friction. It doesn't often really improve lead quality because it causes people to self-select poorly. And it can definitely be like, oh, I don't know yet, and I don't commit yet, so I don't, it's just, you're kind of bidding good leads on that process.
Well, and I also think that, like, people want to know how much it costs first to know what their budget is.
Right. And what are they getting?
Yeah, like, what am I, okay, well, if I say my budget is 5,000, am I getting like premium or am I getting really bad? Like, I can tell you my budget when I know what it's working with. And I think it's sort of, I'm not going to tell you money because potentially I don't have the budget for that. But, you really need to know that value before you can actually say, okay, I'm going to spend money on it.
Yeah. Again, I think it's fair that, like, some of the, the most qualified leads will probably know their budget. However, that's, we're not, that's a very different cut, that's a very small subset of, the 100% of the leads that you generate. So again, it's just not, it's really not great. There are better ways to ask it. Well, yeah, but basically you can ask things about
how big is your kitchen if we're doing a kitchen remodel?
Windows, like how many windows do you need replacing?
Yeah. How big is your roof? How many of the PVs do you need? The panels.
Yeah, other things you can do as well. So you can add people. You can show, like, these are the answers you've given so far. Is this accurate? Like, are you ready for the quote based on that? Like, it is a point where people will be like, oh, I don't know. Do I want to do that? And like, if you make them at that point think about their answers more, again, it can actually improve lead quality because you're like showing them, basically this is like, oh, it gives a point of reflection and makes them consider their answers so far, which often people they just kind of go into the form. So it can help, and it can make it more tangible and more realistic that they're going to get something accurate out of this
Yeah, it
one.
definitely
So
feels
it
more
can
real,
also,
doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah. So it can definitely be like, oh, now as because of that, I'm definitely picking up that phone. Like I put now time and effort and thought. So it can be good. It can also decrease CVR. I can actually have seen it be neutral in those cases and improve lead quality. So it's quite a good one. Yeah. I kind of tied up into this is lead scoring. When we talk about filter questions and opportunity size, like, lead scoring to try to identify like what is a good lead early on is really helpful. We won't go into loads of this, but you can enrich leads nowadays. Credit score is incredibly powerful for B2C. Very hard to get in the UK, but it's much more available in other markets, well, the US, frankly. And there's a very strong
Well,
correlation with
I
zip code
mean,
and your
yeah,
credit score.
the
So it's
US, like lead generation, what you're looking at there, especially when you're looking at like, there's a lot of, debt collection type
mm,
situations, or like, loans to a lot of loans, a lot of those sorts of things. I mean, in those circumstances, one must say that the lead funnels are generally actually quite long. And they also
mm,
do ask quite sort of personal information. But there is a certain desperation on the side of the user, who are in those situations, who are filling these things out, where the value of that loan is actually very, very tangible already. It doesn't really need to,
mm,
they don't need convincing. They need help. And then I have definitely seen quite a lot of all of these tactics that sort of, making there is a lot of friction in these things. And then I have seen, a lot of
mm.
enrichment. You are getting a lot of detail, that you are putting in a lot of details so that these companies can actually get all of that information on you. It's
Particularly these like anything financing relating,
yeah,
car
yeah,
financing. Like, the point isn't to maximize CVR. It's a very different ball game. Or like if
yeah,
anything
100%.
where like you're trading against an asset or whatever, it is
Yeah,
different, and you have to be very smart about it. But yeah, it
mm,
is the whole lead scoring. A big
yeah,
part of it is the link with sales, and that just
100%.
makes your sales team more effective. So there is an element that is you do want to do, but you just got to be a little careful about it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Then final parts of your thank you page are obviously at this point, they've completed your form. They are shown a thank you. Sorry, final parts of your form, your thank you page. Final parts of your thank you? Yeah, thank you pages. At this point, they've just given over their details on the internet to people
Hmm.
they don't really know, a brand that's whatever.
Give me
Um,
closure. I need
you need
closure.
to you need to tell them that they've just done you made a great choice, and they are you are they have this is what's going to happen next with their
Yeah,
details. So you really want to focus on trust and reassurance. You want to improve the likelihood of that contact rate improving, and you can do that on your thank you page. Very clear next steps, having some kind of loader that says like, yeah, these are, we process these. This is great. You've done a really good job. You've said thank you, and you're polite and like you're clear about what's happening. Providing like a submission ID, like this is your unique ID. This is it's almost like something like almost like a comfort blanket. Like you can rely on this if you need to do an inquiry. Nearly always fake, but sometimes they're not.
well, yeah, but also I think, in saying that, what goes hand in hand with all of this is not only saying that and providing this, it's doing it. If you
Yeah.
give a submission ID, then refer back to that at some other point during the journey, so
Mm,
people know that, okay, this has something to do with that. If you're going to say, hey, the next step is this, make sure that that next step is that, because it is just
yeah.
not enough to say it. You have to actually do it. That's really what's going. It's that bridge between the first section of sort of that lead generation. You've got the lead, and now bridging that over to the sales process and making sure that that's a smooth transition means that you have to do what you say and say what you do.
Absolutely, and yeah, thank you page is the exemplary, and it's all like the
Yeah.
whole question set. You're getting you're getting the questions that are going to be helpful for your sales team. And gonna hopefully when you're asking this question, like while some of them can be dummy questions, so to speak, like they have no bearing. They're just questions to get people into the form. The other ones should be relevant. People have taken their
Mm-hmm.
time to answer this. So
Yeah,
when you're asking for this,
respect your user
yeah.
as well. Make sure that you're asking questions that are relevant and not just
Mm,
doing it for wasting time, because
yeah.
nobody got time for that.
And I mean, honestly, the best question sets I've ever seen. Call centers nearly always have like scripts of like this is what they
Yeah,
ask and why. If you can just get a question set that just aligns to that call center script, that script has been fought against for like hundreds, well, like probably tens of thousands of outbound calls. Like that has gone through fire and iron.
Yeah.
that is a good source. Like just use that to make a quick question set. Also, it's got a really strong link to the call center because they know these things are important. They know how to talk about them. So you're just arming your team really effectively. We won't go much more to the thank you. Like we did a whole episode on thank you pages and like structure them and how to do them. Episode 8, maybe. Not sure, but feel free to go back and have a look. And then the final part, which is, at this point, the lead's been generated. You've said the stuff in the thank you page, like what's happening next. So you're sending them an email that, like, these, again, you're basically repeating the information from the thank you page. You're learning, like, this is what's happening next. You may also send an SMS to say, like, this is what's happening next. Little tip there. If your SMS bounces, then send them an email. Like, SMS bounce, can we get your thingy?
Yes.
Don't send that on to the client until you've kind of done that step. Just like freely, it's free, good quality leads. And the thing, so obviously, keep your SMS short, by the way. Just top tip, just like submission ID, this is what it's like, this is what's happening next. If you can give, like, these are the questions that you answered, and like this is your answer set, great. Also really good on that email. Tell them who they've been matched with and why they made this great choice today. And then the thing I was keen to talk about a little bit more is, like, increasingly AI driven, like basically post lead qualification, more qualification. So these things are increasingly common. You can do these. It's usually done via WhatsApp nowadays because, like, that's just the more common platform. You don't be sending loads of SMS. It's quite expensive.
Yeah.
And you can just plug in an AI with, like, basically, this is where almost like that more in-depth lead qualification that you can't really do online, but you can get people to kind of do, like, once they've done that part and they're already, they kind of believe they're talking to a person, like just a few questions before you hand us over to our team. Like, I'm Rosie from, this. Nearly always we want to, like, personify them and make sure it's a person that, like, comes across. Like, can you just give me,
I think as much as you can pull the wool over people's eyes, well, pull the wool over, I don't like that. That sounds a little bit disingenuous. But as long as you can kind of create that illusion a little bit that it is really a real person, I don't think anyone's really that happy with speaking to a robot. I know, like, just from my own, anecdotal experience, you just get really frustrated really quickly. And if you make just the whole process really easy and you just have a name and kind of like a person, I think it just makes the entire situation just easier to digest, and you don't feel, it's just making someone feel comfortable in kind of that context.
Yeah, and it's also, you do want to be a little bit careful. You don't want to do loads of this. You want to be, you don't have, like, really long post qualification. Like, the more things you ask, like, the more room for, like, oh, it's going to get weird. Like, not suspected. No, but people can send interesting things, let's say, in response, and the more questions, the more opportunity for that. And particularly if they've asked, like, quite a lot of questions already, like, people can get frustrated and be like, and then the AI may not always really know what to do with it. So, but it does work. It can improve.
Handle with care. Handle with care, for sure.
Handle with care. Another interesting thing that I've seen for this and improving that lead quality side is, and I don't know how you feel about it, I love it. It's fascinating. So immediately using an auto dialer, but with the AI caller on the other side, who basically qualifies them and then does a hotkey to basically like a live transfer to a real person later on. This has been used, and it's good because it's good speed to lead, and they can be somewhat, I mean, Jack and Jill do this. If you ever see those, like, they're like a big new recruitment platform, give me your details. Jill will phone you. They won't say the Jill. They won't say it's an AI one, but it's absolutely, like, I mean, I got the phone and I was immediately, because it's my industry, so got them. But it's really convincing. Like, so, hi, I saw you did this. I saw you didn't complete the process. Like, what can we help you with? Like, it's very colloquial, very, and it is effective, and it can help in those cases where, you don't have the world's fastest sales team, and you need someone to give them a quick call and qualify, and basically like an extension of that, at WhatsApp to, like, that call level.
Yeah.
If you've got an inbound call center, then, you can just hotkey it over. And particularly for lead gens, it can be a bit of a secret weapon that you deploy instead of having an actual call center that telephone qualifies leads further.
I mean, terrifying to be the on the end of that in a way, but also really, I think it definitely has its place. I think it definitely, Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty intense, to be fair, I think.
I think it's again. I mean, we talked about ethical CRO. I think there's also an idea of like ethical sales and
Yeah.
ethical
I mean,
qualification.
that is a big topic, I think, ethical
Mm,
sales, and I think how
yeah,
that's done. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. I guess it's a tactic that exists out there, and it's something to be aware of. The down, like the pragmatic downsides is like if you don't do this well, and people are aware that this is now, they're talking to a bot, and like that can have quite negative repercussions, and
yeah,
like that lead's probably not going to buy from you because we do
yeah.
work in a trust
And they
economy.
probably will never buy from you again. That's the thing.
Yes.
That your brand, if your brand is in association with that and they have that experience, they don't want it.
Yeah.
That is generally going to be burnt bridge. So it is
Yeah.
a big risk to take. I think if it's done well, executed well, and it's done in sort of, let's just say, a respectful way, if one can even say that, then I think it's great, fantastic, well done. Like, you've done really well. I think the margin of error is huge. And I
Yeah.
think that the risk that is involved with that is also huge.
Yeah. No, good. It's also why lead gens are quite lean because a lot of the lead gen brands, so to speak, that use them, like they're a Facebook business page. And
Yeah.
not always a business page. Well, they kind of have to be a bit, but you can kind of churn through brands. You can
Yeah.
just reskin your landing page, and it's the brand risk is much much lower. So it's also why
Yeah.
lead gens are, whereas like most brands probably won't do this. Which is also like
Yeah.
lead gens. We they exist in the in a slightly different space where they are able to do these tactics that aren't really as like a big known house
Bit
brand
of a
that's going to buy that
gray
lead,
area.
probably, yeah, like they're not going to operate there. But the lead gen apps, that's where the 40% markup exists. Like that's where the
Yeah.
40% margin, is. I mean, you kind of got to drive towards it. So it's something to be aware of, and it's possible you can do it. I can't remember if there are a load of tools nowadays that allow you to do this.
Yeah.
Can be good. It is worth thinking about. Just test with caution. And
Yeah.
don't like over boil it. You just like less is more, and the hotkey situation is kind of important.
Yeah.
And they can live respond as well, which is really good. They are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a whistle stop tour of form driven.
Wow. Yeah.
Bloody.
Goodness gracious, absolutely powering through. I think let's not lose momentum. Let's dive straight into our fantastic hero image. This has been, honestly, it's had a lot of playtime. We've really enjoyed. I mean, shout out to the network. Thank you so much for this. It was fantastic. It made our day. Uh, I mean,
Just
okay, so
looking
just
at it,
to,
and
like
it's making me giggle.
yeah, the sort of to preface this. Well, how do you even? How do you even? It is,
Honestly, we wanted to lighten the tone after
yeah.
all the lead
Let's
gen
just
serious quality
bring it
stuff. We
all
just
up.
wanted to
I
be like,
mean,
this is what
props
not to do.
to,
It's a
yeah.
school
I
of
mean,
shame.
props to him, but it's
All
it's
right.
unique. All right,
Should we do the review and then
let's do the big
critically
reveal.
analyze it?
We've got to do like a drum roll. Brrr, I can't do it.
All right.
Oh
Can you see
my
it?
goodness.
This poor
Oh
man.
my goodness.
Oh, it's even better. So this is the 100% thingy. Oh, there's do I
His
have a?
like hand
There we go.
is
Often,
cut.
like when it's like the head is like clipping this as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it just looks so sus, honestly.
it looks so haunted. Like this can't be real. Like this
No,
must be AI. Like
it has to be. That hand can't be real. Can we zoom in on that hand?
It's the most uncanny valley situation.
Wait, we can't. Oh, that's so annoying. But it definitely, that can't be. Like, this is finance. This is, you want to be taken seriously. And I noticed a few copy mistakes. Like there's
yeah.
I mean, but this is like small things, but there's like
yeah,
full stops and then no full stops. Like, it's just sort of not cohesive throughout the whole thing.
Lacking capitalization.
Yeah.
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 It's not doing great on the trust side.
No.
However,
oh, look at him,
and
he's so young as well. And what hairstyle is that? Like, how am I going to be borrowing money from him? He's not even graduated. Do you know, like, he doesn't
have real
tie
hands.
situation, it's far too wide. So this is not on Vogue. Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, there's a lot of small text, but
yeah. So, iconic day. Please change this.
Yeah. Anything else?
This is
just
not
anything.
how to do anything. I mean, honestly, just like central line it. So I'll show you the best version of this. There we go. You can't see him. Not on mobile. On mobile, he's gone.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's just a wild. I just want to know. I want to know who chose that. I want to know the creative, designer who was behind this.
Creative process.
Yeah, the creative process. Yeah, exactly. Like, who was like, you know what will be trustworthy?
Process. Yeah.
An AI man in an empty room who's side-eyeing me with like 90s Backstreet Boys hair.
And I can see the thought process, like they are pointing to the thing, like, pointing
and
to
the
things actually does what. Yeah, I can see how they got to this conclusion, but please.
Oh, we love it though. I mean, great fun. Great fun.
We really do. We really do. Okay, I think that's enough shaming.
Yeah.
Wheel of Shame returns. Any more, please send them to that. This was like a genuine highlight of our week, which says so much about our lives.
Honestly. Yeah, but, please, anyway, if anyone's still here, first of all, please send us anything if you see anything like this. Again, we would love to see it. We would love to feature it. And also, please comment the void so that we can give you a free, page audit. And we'd love that. And we'd just love to know who's still listening.
We're still, again, for those out there who are listening, no one's commented the void yet, so I'm pretty sure you don't exist. Visitor analytics suggests that some of you may exist.
Yeah, but is this clean data? Do we really know we're getting the real data?
I think it's me watching them.
Just replaying to watch myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank
you very much.
Been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah. See you guys next week.